Hey friends, welcome back to This Homemade Life. My name is Courtney, in case you're new here, and every week I share one of these What's for Dinner videos. So if you love food and cooking and grocery hauls, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Stick around, I've got tons of content you're going to love. This week's video is short and sweet. If you don't know, I live down in Texas where it is ridiculously hot. Nobody wants to cook or eat some really super elaborate meals right now. It was 114 degrees yesterday, just if you're wondering. So the meals are quick and simple. I also went to go visit my parents part of the week, so I was only home to cook the first half of the week. But let's go ahead and get it started off with this Peruvian chicken. I think I made this about a year or so ago on my channel, and it is fantastic. The first time we made it, we grilled it, but this time no one wants to go outside and stand over a fire when it is that hot. So I am cooking it in the air fryer. I started off by marinating it, and I did it the night before just because I was bored and I was up and it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get this stuff marinating, so I did. It's a really simple marinade, a lot of things that most of us have on hand, and it is so delicious. We're gonna start off by juicing and zesting one whole lime, and that zest is really important because it brings so much citrusy goodness to this dish. There is so much flavor in the zest of any citrus fruit, so I always love to include it where I can just because it really amps up the flavor and volume of every dish. It's fantastic, especially during the summer. It's such a wonderful bright flavor. Next, we're going to add in a little bit of soy sauce. You could use coconut aminos if you do not like to eat soy sauce. That is perfectly fine. I'm a huge fan. I put soy sauce in most of my marinades. I just think it does a great job of flavoring things. We're also going to add in some Worcestershire sauce, one of my absolute favorites. A little bit of Dijon mustard. This really kind of gives it a little zing, and it helps everything emulsify together as well. And some honey for sweetness. That is really nice. The lime and the honey and the soy especially, they're big flavors. They bring a lot of deliciousness to everything. There's only a few seasonings we're going to add in here. Cumin, which I did go a little bit light on because it is not my favorite. And I'm also going to add in some paprika. I use smoked. If you're new here, that is one of my favorites. I love smoked paprika. I put it in a ton of stuff. Sometimes it's not even called for, and I love to add it in just because I think it's fabulous. So today I was pretty heavy-handed with it, which is typical for me. As you can see behind me over there, there's a jar. That is my confit garlic. I am pretty much using up the last of it. And as soon as I get home from visiting my parents, I will be making some more and filming that. So if you are interested in how I make that, make sure you stick around because that video will be coming up very soon. We're also going to add in a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. If you're looking for the complete recipe, it will be linked down below in the description box. This is such a great recipe. It's great during the summer and it's great during the winter. You can cook it in your air fryer, you can cook it on your grill, you can bake it in your oven, however you like to cook your chicken. This is such a great marinade. So I just kind of like to mix everything together, and I squeezed everything around because that confit garlic is buttery soft and it just helps to break it up a little bit. And then I'm adding in chicken. I'm using chicken thighs. I like to kind of trim some of the fat off but leave a little bit on so when it fries it doesn't dry out, or air fries, it doesn't dry out. And then I like to unfold them and make sure that they're kind of flat so the marinade gets all over the chicken. Then I kind of massage it in there and everything, and then I pop this in my fridge. And I did this, like I said, it was about 10 or 10:30 at night, and I cooked it the next afternoon about 2 o'clock. So it marinated for a very long time, which honestly, when it comes to chicken, I love to marinate it for a long time because it really soaks up a ton of great flavors. Beef, I've noticed, doesn't do quite as well, but chicken just always welcomes all kinds of new flavors, especially when they're bright and vibrant, full of citrus, stuff like that. So I just popped this in my air fryer at 400 degrees for about 24 minutes, and they cooked perfectly. They were crispy a little bit on the edges and juicy and just fantastic. So while that was in the air fryer, I went ahead and made this sauce. This is, oh my gosh, this sauce. This is so good. I need to start making this more often. So I started off with the poblano pepper. You could add in some jalapenos too. I did not have any. I was just using what I had. I added in some green onions and some cilantro, then a little bit of yogurt and some mayonnaise, a little bit more Dijon mustard, some honey, and we're also going to add in some lime juice and some salt and some pepper. You can tell that this sauce is definitely mirroring what we used in that marinade, and it's perfect. And it's so refreshing on this chicken. There's a little bit more of that confit garlic. Now, just so you know, confit garlic is like roasted garlic, so it's a lot more mild. So it looks like I'm using a lot, but it is not nearly as potent as like raw garlic would be. Then I just kind of let this stuff go in the food processor to break down all those herbs and peppers and stuff. And we've got this beautiful sauce. I poured it over the chicken that I sliced up. We had tortillas, some pickled red onions, some rice, and some black beans. This was absolutely fantastic. All right, next up is some fish curry. I saw somebody make fish curry a couple of weeks ago, and I'm a huge fan of curry, also a huge fan of fish, and I really wanted to try it. The thing is, they called for black cod, also known as sable fish, because it's a lot sturdier, and I can't get that in my area. Down here in Texas, sometimes it's hard to get certain types of fish and seafood and stuff, so I'm just kind of working with what I had, so I've altered the recipe, but I will link a full recipe down below. I'm not sure what kind of fish it calls for, but I will link a full recipe for the curry and everything down below. So I've got swai fish. This is the second time I've used it, and my family really, really likes it. I picked this up at Sam's Club. It's a great deal, great price, and I'm going to air fry this separately from the curry. So I'm just going to season it with a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and a little bit of garlic powder. Those are kind of my go-tos when I'm just looking for a basic seasoning blend on anything. So that's what I'm going to use today. And then I popped this in my air fryer at 400 degrees for about 12 minutes. I did check it at 10, but it wasn't looking quite as brown and crispy as I expected it to. So I did let it go the full 12 minutes, and it was perfect and beautiful and flaky and fabulous. It would have been great on its own, but it was even better in this curry sauce that we're going to make. So I started off by dicing up one onion, and I'm sauteing that over a medium heat with a little bit of oil. I did add some salt and pepper in here just because it kind of helps to season it and sweat the onions down a little bit, help them soften up just a little bit faster. Once they were starting to brown and they were nice and cooked, I went ahead and added in some of that confit garlic. Again, if you're using regular garlic, you only need 1 or 2 cloves, but this stuff is a lot more mild, and oh my gosh, it is so, so good. This is one of my favorite condiments that I've ever made. And I do make a couple of my own condiments, but this one is definitely just so worth making and putting some time into. It's very easy to make. It just takes some time to let it simmer on the stovetop. But like I said, I will be filming that video, and I will have it up hopefully within the week. All right, so once the garlic and the onions have kind of cooked a little bit and come together, I'm going to add in some red curry paste. Yes, I am a little bit heavy-handed with that, but this stuff is not spicy, like hot spicy. It has like a lot of flavor, but it is not hot. I do like to put it in here and let it kind of simmer in the pan for a minute. I feel like it really wakes up the flavors in the curry and brings it back to life. Next, we're going to add a little fish sauce. Okay, so this stuff smells weird, but it tastes fabulous, so don't skip it. It brings like a really rich, deep umami flavor to everything. It's so good. We're also going to add a little lime juice. We want that to kind of brighten everything up here and bring a little vibrancy into it. And I'm just kind of mixing this all together and letting it kind of hang out and heat up a little bit before I add in some coconut milk. I like the full fat coconut milk. It just seems to be a lot more rich and creamy when I'm making curries. And this one I'm not adding any tomatoes or anything into. Some curries call for a can of diced tomatoes. I'm keeping this one really simple, especially because I'm serving it with the fish. So I really wanted that rich, creamy texture from the full fat coconut milk. I'm just going to stir that in and let it simmer for just a little bit and come together. It really brings all the flavors together if you give it a few minutes. Now, this did call for some fresh herbs that I did not have on hand, which is fine. I used what I had that was dry cilantro for one. If you have some fresh basil or fresh cilantro, that's even better. I did not. I also added in a little bit of brown sugar. Curry often calls for brown sugar just to kind of offset the little bitterness that you can get from the red curry paste, and it's so, so good. And there I was adding in the dried cilantro and a few other seasonings, some coriander and stuff. Again, the full recipe will be linked down below. And I just like to stir this together and let it simmer, and everything just kind of comes together in one big party in the pan, and it's so fantastic. I do have some vegetables that I'm roasting in my air fryer. You can put whatever vegetables you want with this. I just chose broccoli and cauliflower because I had them on hand, and there is that fish. Fish in the air fryer is a game changer, by the way. The texture is beautiful. The flavor is fantastic. But I just served it on some rice, poured the curry sauce over the top, the vegetables on the side, and then, of course, I mixed it all together because it was wonderful that way. This was so good, and it was not heavy. I know it looks kind of heavy, but it was really not. All right, the last one is a homemade ramen, which I know sounds really hot, but this was actually really light, and I enjoyed it. My whole family did. This was really a great, easy, quick weeknight meal. So I had some shrimp in my freezer. I'm going to start off by sauteing those in the pan, and I'm seasoning them with the seasoning packet from some ramen noodles. I had some shrimp ramen, and I just took the seasoning packet out because I wanted the noodles, and I'm going to use half of it on the shrimp, and the rest of it I will put on the vegetables in a minute. I'm also seasoning these with another homemade spice of mine. This is mushroom salt. I made this myself. There it is. I dehydrated some mushrooms and then I ground them up in my food processor. You can see it's a very fine powder. And I added some salt to it, and that's it. But this is so good. It really is like another one of those umami bomb flavors. And then in that pot next to all this, I do have some broth cooking. I just picked up some, I think it's actually called umami broth. I found it at H-E-B. If you might be able to find something similar if your store doesn't carry exactly that, or just make the broth that with the ramen packet, and that's fine too because it has tons of flavor that way. But I'm just going to go ahead and cook these shrimp all the way through, and you guys know shrimp does not take very long at all. I think these took less than 5 minutes to get cooked all the way through. They're not big shrimp. I just made sure that they were all peeled and deveined, and I like the tails off because I don't want to have to mess with that when I'm trying to eat my ramen. Anyway, once these were cooked, I did go ahead and pull them out of the pan and set them to the side so we can go ahead and cook some veggies. This is another one of those dishes where you can use whatever veggies you have on hand or whatever you like. I used baby corn because I love, love, love baby corn. And then I went ahead and just kind of chopped up some sugar snap peas because I love those as well. And they keep their texture really, really well when you cook them. I kind of did this like a hibachi. If you guys have ever eaten at any of those hibachi places, my pan was super hot. I put a little oil in there and I threw these veggies in and let them go on a super, super high heat just to kind of develop a little color and flavor. But I didn't cook them till they were soft or anything. They were literally just in the pan for a couple of minutes. I did go ahead and throw the rest of my green onions in there. I just kind of chopped them up nicely and tossed them in there for flavor. And that was it. And these vegetables were so good. I mean, absolutely fantastic. And they really went well with the ramen. They kept it simple, but they brought a nice flavor. But, you know, I've seen people add like canned corn and all kinds of stuff. So really just kind of go crazy with it, whatever your family likes. I'm seasoning these just like I did the shrimp with my mushroom salt and the rest of that ramen packet. I did use the shrimp flavored ramen packets. So that's, or the shrimp flavored ramen noodles. That's what I was using. So that's the flavor packet that I'm putting in there. And it was great. I didn't have to add any more salt or anything to it. It flavored everything so, so well. And I felt great about not wasting. So I found a great use for those since I wasn't using them for the broth. That umami broth was really, really good. It wasn't salty or anything. I was really surprised. I loved it. I would definitely recommend using it if you see it. I will try to link some down below if I can find it on Amazon or something so you guys can order it if you can't find it at your store. But there's my ramen. I just put my noodles in there. I cooked them in the microwave just like you would for any ramen, and then put my vegetables and my shrimp and then poured some broth in there. This was fantastic. It was so delicious and filling and wonderful and fabulous. Anyway, guys, that is it for this week. Like I said, it's short and sweet. It's super hot in Texas and I was out of town, so that's all I've got. Hopefully next week it'll cool off a little, but I'm already planning a lot of great meals, so I hope I see you guys back here soon. Have a great week, guys. Bye.